It is unapproachable, being a mass of fire. It is the absolute and therefore called the supreme. The body of one who performs Anga Pradakshina around this hill becomes divine and immune to injury. The devas circumambulate me every day. The sun and other celestial bodies have obtained their lordship over the other planets by circumambulating me. A devotee who circumambulates the hill on a Sunday penetrates the region of the sun and attains liberation. He gains the world of Shiva. He who circumambulates the hill on a Monday lives free from the afflictions of old age and death. He who circumambulates the hill on a Tuesday is released from all debts and becomes an emperor. If Pradakshina is done on Wednesday, he becomes omniscient and wise. On Thursday, he is worshipped by all the devas and attains fame as a guru. Circumambulation on a Friday. 59 brings prosperity and takes him to the abode of Vishnu. A Saturday Pradakshina brings worldly success and averts the ill effects threatened by the planets in one's horoscope. If those who suffer from physical and mental ailments, as well as those who are weak and emaciated, circumambulate me, their ailments are cured. The Nakshatras, stars, and the Devatas, deities, presiding over the planets favor those who circumambulate the hill. Tidbi, Karana, Yoga, Muberta, Bora etc., divisions of time, are also favorably disposed. The sound pra in the word Pradakshina, circumambulation, means rooting out sins, da, granting desires, ksbi, obliterating the fruits of karma, and na, bestowing liberation. This is the real meaning of the word Pradakshina. Even I circumambulate Arunadri, the divinely effulgent linga which is my form, in the company of Ganas, Devas and Risbhas at the time of the sacred Uttarayana, the winter solstice. I do so for the welfare of the world. Moreover, goddess Gauri will come here to do penance. She will become pure by circumambulating me. Afterwards she will gain 1/2 of my body. She will perform severe penance and circumambulate me at the time of Pradosbha, the evening of the 13th day of both the waxing and the waning moon, on the day of Kritika, the day on which the moon is in conjunction with the star Pleiades, in the month of Kartika, the 8th month of the Indian solar calendar which corresponds to November to December. The goddess in the form of a Pitakachambika shall then merge in me. 60 All the devas rejoice during the holy season of Uttarayana. During this season all the devas, G and Bharvas, Yaks Ba, Siddhas and Rakshasas gather at this place, worship me, make progress in their austerities and perform the rites which expiate all the sins committed by them in their previous lives. The day on which the holy season of Uttarayana commences is an auspicious day for men. Hence let them adore me on that day and attain the goal of their lives. One should never circumambulate the hill on any kind of conveyance, for it is against Dharma. Once upon a time a king named Dharmaketu who came from the world of Yama rode round the hill on horseback. After completion of Pradakshina his horse was transformed into a Gananadba. Amidst praises sung by the devas it left its master and gained the abode of Shiva. Witnessing this the king repented and circumambulated the hill on foot. Needless to say that he too joined the Ganas and attained Siva's abode. Since then Indra and the 3 crore devas as well as Vishnu go round Arunachala on foot. If the foot of one who circumambulates Arunachala bleeds, it will be wiped with the Mandara flowers worn on Devendra's head. The foot which happens to be injured while circumambulating will be soothed by the kumkum, vermilion, from the body of goddess Lakshmi. On hearing all this Gauri said, O sage, kindly expound on the merits acquired by serving this hill. Tell me the story of those fortunate persons who served this hill with reverence and how they attained the goal of 61 their lives. Thereupon Gautama said, I shall describe the merits acquired by serving this hill as narrated by Parameswara himself on a former occasion. A spider wove its web on one of the slopes of the hill. This amounted to clothing the hill. It gained the ability to recall its previous births. Poisonous insects move about harmlessly on the slopes. Those who light even a single lantern regularly for Arunachala become self-effulgent. A parrot built its nest on a tree close to Arunachala and kept in it some fireflies which dispelled the darkness all around it by their light. It therefore attained liberation. A few cows were grazing on the slopes of the hill. Their thoughts turned to their calves. Instantly milk dripped from their udders and drenched the slopes. As a result of this spontaneous abhispeka which they performed to Arunachala they attained liberation. When a crow flew in search of prey its wings fanned the hill. It attained liberation immediately. Devas and Risbhas dwell close to Arunachala as trees with the object of avoiding future births. If one constructs a gopura, a tower, a sikbara, spire, a road or a mantapa, pavilion, or digs a well in this place he will obtain what he desires. Let this linga of fire which cannot be approached by mortals be worshipped on earth. Annamalai Ambika, the supreme power, nourishes the entire world which is her creation. The mother of the universe is eternally young. Let those who desire to become eternally young worship her. Worship the Lord of Sanadri, the repository of immeasurable virtues, who grants boons and the source. 62 Of all joys. Your desires will be fulfilled and you will join Sambhu. Your penance is meant for the welfare of the world. There is nothing which you desire for yourself. Let the austerities and dharma of the rishis flourish. Devatas do penance only to fulfill their desires. The goal of our lives will be reached by living near you when you are performing your penance. O Queen of all celestial beings! Everything will be accomplished by your penance. On hearing these words of the Muni, Goddess Gauri was extremely pleased. She praised him thus. What other penance is necessary? I have had your Darshban and of Arunachala and have obtained your blessings. I have listened to its glory. This earth is superior to Swarga, for the effulgent linga abides here and it grants boons even to devas. Shiva can be attained only by his grace. His abode has been revealed to me. I shall adore him at this very place and propitiate him. I shall gain eternal union with Shiva. The goddess then decided to perform penance devoutly in the presence of Gautama. At Gauri's behest a thatched hut was built for her. The goddess with her slender form, lotus-like eyes, matted tresses, wearing a tree bark and shining with the brilliance of a carbuncle was the very embodiment of penance. She followed the various scriptural injunctions and exhibited her devotion to her Lord in various ways, thus teaching the world the paths of Dharma as laid down in the Vedas and Sastras. Her slender body withstood the severity of penance without exhibiting the least trace of weariness. 63x The slaying of the demon Mahishasura. Brahma continued. The devas who were oppressed by Mahishasura, a demon who had taken the form of a buffalo, came down to earth and sought refuge with the goddess. They cried in fear, "O goddess, save us." When she asked what the matter was, Indra and the other devas folded their palms respectfully and told her about their suffering at the hands of Mahishasura. They said, Mahisha sports in the woods of Nandana with the Asparas, celestial nymphs, having brought under control Airavata, Indra's elephant, and other Diggajas, elephants belonging to the 8 cardinal points. He has taken 64 possession of Uchayasravas, Indra's horse, and other horses. He also keeps millions of goats which are the mounts of Agni, and allows his sons to ride them. He yokes the bison, the mount of Yama, to his chariot. Siddhas have been enslaved, are compelled to do his bidding and wait upon him. If there is anything in all the 3 worlds that he does not possess, he is not satisfied until he gets hold of it. As for us, we live in fear of him as his servitors and are compelled to obey his commands. This Asura, demon, is invincible. Having obtained a boon from Shiva, he is more powerful than devas and all others. Harassed by Mahisha, the king of the seas wails in desperation and offers his jewels. With his horns Mahisha digs the mountains. His strength is unequaled. Nobody can oppose him. You will discover this yourself when you come to destroy him. You are the power, Sabakti, of Sambhu in the form of a woman. It is destined that he should be killed by you, for he has obtained a boon from Sambhu that no man shall kill him. Goddess, you must save us. Hearing them cry out in fear in this manner, the goddess in all graciousness assured them of her protection. She spoke endearingly, "Devassal, my children. It is said that one of the objectives of doing penance is protection of those who seek refuge. Your enemy will perish in a short time. I shall kill that great Asura by strategy. It is not right to kill one who is innocent. He who acts contrary to Dharma, against those who abide by Dharma, will die like an insect." Their fears having vanished upon hearing these words of assurance, the devas bowed to the daughter of the 65 mountain, and returned in peace to their abode. After their departure the lotus-eyed Gauri manifested herself as the power of resplendent delusion, Mohim, and appointed 4 noble Bhairavis to keep watch on all 4 sides of Arunagiri. These 4 celestial damsels, named Dundubi, Satyavati, Anavami and Sundari, had followed Gauri to serve her when she came away from the Kailasa mountain. She now issued the following orders to them. Admit only those who have come to worship Arunachala and are tired, hungry and thirsty. Others should not enter. She then appointed strong men to guard the boundaries of Arunachala and continued her penance at her ashram. While she did penance in this manner, the place had plentiful rains. The crops grew lush and green. Even the creatures which are mutually hostile forgot their hostility. The ashram became a place for all creatures to live in harmony. Arunagiri was protected by guards for a distance of 2 yojanas all around. Everyone felt safe. Lust and violent passions were unknown. All the munis were pleased. They praised Gauri in her ashram as if it were the world of Shiva. She continued to practice her austerities day and night, greatly rejoicing in attending to those matters which pleased Shiva. One day the arrogant Mahisha entered the forest of Arunachala, which was far from his own country, with the intention to hunt. He and his followers hunted the animals that roamed fearlessly in the forest. Seeing his warriors roaming about with bows, the animals fled in fear. Some 66 of them took refuge in the ashram of the goddess. The Asuras were promptly prevented by the guards from entering the ashram. When they asked the reason, the guards replied, "Gauri is doing penance here. Therefore she is bound to protect those who take shelter within these precincts. This is a place meant for munis. No one shall forcibly enter." The Asuras turned back, pondering on their next move. They then entered the ashram in the guise of birds and, sitting on the branches of the trees within the ashram, saw the goddess. Afterwards they praised the enchanting beauty of the goddess to Mahisha. On hearing their words he was stricken with lust. Disguising himself as an old man he entered the ashram and was welcomed by the companions of the goddess. He pretended to be pleased by their hospitality and asked them, "Why are you doing penance here?" They said, Bala, lit. Maiden, has been doing penance here for a long time in order to obtain a husband. But she can never find one who possesses the qualities she desires. It seems that she has decided to marry only a valiant person who can perform great deeds. Upon hearing this, Mahisha laughed and said to Gauri, O maiden, performer of penance, I seem to have come here only in answer to your prayer. Listen, I shall describe my glories. I am Mahisha, the extremely valiant king of the Asuras. All the 3 worlds are under my control. I alone possess such matchless valor. O maiden, I am the embodiment of love. I can give you every pleasure. Take me for your husband. I shall grant you the fruit of the 67 austerities of all beings with the help of the wish-fulfilling tree. I can create even Visvakarma, the divine architect, by my power. I can create thousands of Kamadbinas, wish-fulfilling cows, in a moment. Around me are the 9 Nidbis, repositories of precious objects, with the aid of which all desires can be instantly fulfilled. When the goddess heard what he said, she remembered the prayer of the Devas. Abandoning her vow of silence, she said jestingly, I will become the wife of only a valiant man. I have been doing penance for a long time with that object in view. If you are such a man, display your strength. If you fail, admit that you are weak. On hearing these words, Mahisha became very angry. He roared, You are now as good as dead. Who are you to speak to me thus? And sprang towards the goddess with the object of killing her. At his approach, Gauri quickly transformed herself into Durga, the fiery and invincible goddess. As soon as Mahishasura saw the blazing Mahabhamaya before him, he made himself exceedingly huge like the Meru mountain. He tore off mountain peaks and hurled them at her and gathered around him his vast armies from all quarters. Hari and Sadasava offered goddess Durga 5 arrows each and Brahma 4. The Dikpalakas, the Devas, the mountains and the seas all offered their respective ornaments, weapons and missiles to the goddess and praised her splendor. She put on armor and immediately mounted a lion. Being unable to look at the all-pervasive effulgence and afraid to face the mighty goddess, Mahisha ran. 68 Thereupon Gauri thought that the wicked Mahishasura should be killed only by a stratagem. Just as hunters prod animals to make them enraged and turn about, even so I shall make him angry by sending some clever messengers and make him return at once to the battlefield. Those who are extremely unrighteous will not listen to the words of Dharma. For, if they do so, their way of living will be adversely affected. On the contrary, if he listens to the words of Dharma and becomes peaceful, he shall be saved. Then he will not violate Dharma. Those who do penance do not become angry. Penance should make one free from anger. One should not do anything which is not in accordance with Dharma. Reflecting thus, Goddess Gauri sent a monkey-faced Muni named Saraguru to Mahisha. She said to him, Maharshi Vinaramuka, endowed with the power of Maya which I shall bestow upon you, you shall go to Mahisha and make him return quickly with the following words. Do not oppress anyone around Arunadri as you wickedly intend to do. The valor of wicked persons who do so will be completely destroyed in a moment. The afflictions of the age of Kali and troubles from Asuras have no place there. For it is a holy and auspicious place meant for the devotees of Shiva. By the merit you have acquired in some former life you now possess valor and good fortune. Let not your demoniac nature make you fall into the fire of Arunachala like a moth. The boon acquired by you by the grace of Shiva and through your penance will be completely burnt and destroyed like twigs in a forest. 69 Fire. Only those who follow Dharma and are devotees of Shiva may live there. Those who oppress others will develop all kinds of diseases. You have more power than others and your valor cannot be challenged by anyone. Hence you should not lose it by your rashness. I too saw the maiden coveted by you. She is truly a Bala, destitute. Still, as she is under the protection of the Lord of Arunachala, she cannot be conquered. If, however, you do not listen to my advice and come to battle, she will destroy all the boons which have made you an arrogant oppressor. Station all your armed forces in front of the goddess. She will destroy them in a moment. When you are killed by her weapons, you and your followers may or may not attain liberation. Who can divine the plan of the Lord? One is bound to reap the fruit of the deeds prompted by one's inherent tendencies. No one can prevent it. In this manner teach him his own dharma and make him abandon what is not dharma. When Vinaramuka, who was sent by the goddess with these instructions, delivered the message to Mahisha, the latter was enraged and approached the Muni with the intention of killing him, but the Muni escaped through the power of Maya. The wicked demon then gathered all his armed forces and prepared for battle. His forces came from all quarters and surrounded Arunagiri. As soon as Gauri saw the Asura army, she brought into existence fierce warriors, Buddha Ganas, and monstrous creatures. Then the goddess blew her conch. As soon as 70 the Asuras heard the sound and saw her, they shot a host of arrows from all sides in order to show their valor. But the goddess stopped them all with her arrows. The bee Buddhas and Vedalas created by the goddess fought fiercely. The attendant goddesses killed many of the enemies quickly. Amidst the dead bodies of the Asuras, the Buddhas danced in victory. The goddess stood fully armed along with her maidens, Dundubi, Satyavati, Anavami and Sundari. As soon as Mahisha saw her he became enraged. He pierced the clouds with the tip of his horns, darted his flame-like tongue hither and thither, butted the earth with his horns, pawed the earth with his hooves, raining clouds of dust on all sides, and roared fiercely. He lifted his hairy tail and shattered many of the weapons of the Devas, who became frightened. Then he turned towards the beautiful Bhavani, who was mounted on a lion, and charged towards her only to meet his doom. Mahisha rained arrows and many other weapons on goddess Gauri, but she stopped them all at a distance with her arrows and pierced his body in many places. While assailed thus with discs, axes, maces, spears and many other weapons, he disappeared suddenly and came back a moment later in the form of a fierce lion. Roaring terribly, he raged about the battlefield, attacking with his teeth and sharp claws. Every time he was defeated, he took a new form. Thus he came as a tiger, then an elephant, and then a fierce warrior with a sword. The goddess, who was carrying a sword, shield and a disc, fought with him and cut off his head. But he resumed his form of Mahisha and fought with her tirelessly. 71 Then the Devas and Munis approached Gautama, who praised the mother of the world and reminded her of her innate glory. Gautama pleaded with Bhagavati to eliminate the Asura immediately. The goddess pierced Mahisha with her trident. His body was as big as a mountain range, but he could not withstand the valor of the goddess. He fell and rolled on the ground, but could not extricate himself from the trident. He looked like a red sea with blood flowing from his face and limbs. The goddess cut off his head with a sharp sword and stood dancing upon him. Seeing this, the Siddhibhas, G and Barvas and Mabharsbas hailed her as goddess Durga. Indra, the king of the Devas, bowed down before her, and with folded hands he praised the goddess. He prayed that her form as Mahishasura Mardhani, the destroyer of Mahisha, should be a source of prosperity and happiness for all creation. When the goddess was praised in this manner and worshipped by Indra and adored by the rishis, she complied with their request and said, "Let it be so." She created an image bearing all kinds of weapons and installed it in the world of the Devas. Then she took her place here again, assuming her tranquil form surrounded by her companions. She looked at the severed head and neck of Mahisha. Seeing a linga there, she quietly took it with the object of worshipping it. She looked at the blood-smeared linga carefully for a long time. When she did so, the linga stuck to her hand. She could not remove it. She exclaimed, "Why has this happened?" In distress she went to 72 Maharshi Gautama and said, "This devotee of Shiva was killed by me. I am therefore overcome by sorrow." Pained at what she had done, she continued, "O sage, you know all the dharmas I wanted to protect the Devas. So I assured them of my protection. While fulfilling my promise, though meant for protecting Dharma, I have committed an act of adharma. This linga which was around his neck clings to my hand. How shall I expiate the sin of killing a devotee of Shiva? Until I obtain the grace of Shiva, I shall go on a pilgrimage with this linga and do penance. Afterwards I shall bathe in the holy waters flowing at places sacred to Shiva and expiate my sin." Gautama, who was well versed in the dharma of Shiva, said, "Gauri, do not fear that you killed a devotee of Shiva by mistake. Mahisha could not be conquered by the Devas, not because he had the good fortune to possess the linga, but because he had to be killed only by you, the beloved of Shiva." He roused the anger of Mabharsbas, who were the devotees of Shiva, hated them and scorned them. Consequently he was cursed by them thus, "As you behave like a buffalo, you shall become a wild bison." And he immediately became Mahisha, bison. But when he bowed to them, praised them and begged for release from his curse, they were pleased to give him the following advice. "Although you have become a bison, by Shiva's command, you will be slain by the goddess herself. You need not be depressed at your plight. Who is not punished for scorning the Siddhibhas, who are actually Shiva? Although you have, on account of your sin, become a bison, you will be released from the curse through the grace of the Siddhibhas. L. 73. O Gauri, Mahisha has been killed by you because of your penance. If necessary, you may, for the sake of pleasing Shiva, have Darshban of Arunachala, the effulgent linga." Mahisha was a devotee of the Lord of Arunadri in his previous birth. Afterwards he became a wild buffalo, but somehow he acquired a linga. Who is there in the three worlds who can kill the wearer of a linga? It is said that a linga which is worn without proper initiation will bring ruin upon the wearer. Or perhaps, he swerved away from the virtuous path by evil counsels. There is no doubt that he has been liberated by coming into contact with your lotus feet, as a result of the austerities performed by him in his former lives, by the remembrance of his real nature and the wearing of the linga. In any case, the sight of this noble hill is the sure means of expiating all sins. Goddess. This sin can be expiated in the following manner. You must bring some followers of Seva Siddhbanta and settle them here. You must then make all the holy waters meet here and form a single holy pond, in which you must bathe wearing the linga and uttering the Agamarsbana mantra which expiates sins. You must bathe thrice daily and, at the end of 1 month, perform Deva Yaga, sacrifice for the gods, and worship the Lord of Arunadri. When Bhagavati learned from the Muni this secret about Shiva, she took the necessary steps for bathing in such a holy pond and expiating her sins. 74:11. The goddess oins Shiva. When Gautama spoke in this manner, Gauri's doubts were cleared. A sweet voice was then heard coming from the sky. It said, "Daughter of the mountain, You need not go anywhere else to expiate your sin. Split open a rock with your sword. All the 9 Tirthas, namely, the Ganga, the Yamuna, the Sindhu, the Godavari, the Saraswati, the Narmada, the Kaveri, the Sonanadi and the Sonanadam will appear in that cleft. Bathe in them, uttering the sin-destroying mantra in the month of Asvia, October to November, in the asterism of Jivta and Tares. You must bathe in this holy water, and at the end of the month install on the bank of that holy Tirtha the linga in your hand, consecrating it for the welfare of the world. If anyone bathes in that Tirtha and worships that linga, he will undoubtedly be free from the 3 kinds of misery. 75. Celebrate a festival for 10 days with the maidens named Anumati, Bala, Sinavali, Guha and Yadri. Take the final bath when the star Kritika, Pleiades, is in ascension, and worship Sunashala in the evening in the prescribed manner. I shall then reveal to you my own effulgent form. You must do this solely for the welfare of the world. Goddess Gauri thereupon proceeded to do what the Maharshi and the voice from the sky had asked her to do. She caused by her powers, lotuses resembling her eyes and upala flowers resembling her smile to bloom in that tirba. The world was blessed by her presence there. Everyone's desires were fulfilled and there was contentment everywhere. But her mind was agitated on account of her separation from Sambhu. At the end of 1 month the goddess celebrated a festival. On the evening when Kritika was in conjunction with the moon in the month of Kartbika, November-December, she propitiated the Lord of Arunadri with all the prescribed offerings and offering of water, Ardbhya. The Mother of the World then prayed, Visvarupa, God in the form of Sunashala, Effulgent One, Linga in the form of a hill, Remover of all sins, obeisance to thee. Thy glory could not be realized even by Brahma and Vishnu, as thou art truly fiery. But thou hast cooled down for the welfare of the world. When the goddess stood praying thus, Arunadri manifested himself as an effulgent column blazing in all directions. He appeared as a supreme effulgence resembling the rising of crores of suns, or a crore of 76 full moons or world-consuming fires. The munis, sages, and the goddess prostrated before it with extreme veneration. While the goddess stood overcome with joy, the Lord of Arunadri rose out of that effulgence in a golden form with a bluish throat and said, I am pleased with you, for you have performed penance and austerities at the places specified by me. You have now directly realized my radiant form. Being the mother of the world, you protect the world for various reasons. What is your wish, beloved one? Your doubts and fears have vanished the moment you saw my splendor. You have not incurred any sin by the act of killing Mahisha. Moreover, as you have looked at Sunashala, you have expiated all your sins. Your eyes have become blessed. You engaged a foster mother to suckle your son. And, instead of being with him, you were here as Unnamalai, mother of the unsuckled breasts, in the month of Kartbika for the protection of your devotees. You shall therefore be worshipped as a Pitakachambika, the Sanskrit equivalent for Unnamalai. After completing this worship for the welfare of the devotees, you shall meditate upon me. When Shiva spoke these words, Ambika bowed to him and prayed, Deva of Devas, every year on this Kritika day of the full moon, pray, reveal the divine form which was devoutly worshipped by me and the Dev as on this auspicious day, so that all may be protected from adversity. Mahadeva said, so be it. The goddess then went round the hill along with her companions. As she did so, Arunachala shone like an 77 emerald, and her sacred body was enveloped by the luster of the hill. As she walked slowly, the luster of her lotus feet made the earth look as if it had been strewn with lotus petals. Her radiant looks were like blossoms of Nilotpala, blue lotus, scattered by worshippers all round Sanadri. Goddess Gauri was devoutly walking round the hill as if she were walking round the ceremonial marriage bhavan with the object of attaining union with Shiva. She was joined at each step by Brahma, Vishnu and their consorts Saraswati and Lakshmi respectively, the Devas, the Dipalakas and their consorts, and the celestial maidens with their fragrant offerings. It appeared, as if by her austerities she was appeasing the hill of fire. Constantly remembering Mahadeva, she gave spiritual instruction to the divine rishis. 78:12. The Lord grants the boon of supreme excellence to Arunachala. Brahma said, the mother of the world bowed to the destroyer of the 3 cities and prayed that she should attain union with him. Noted for her sweet words, she prayed very devoutly in this manner for the welfare of the world, let not this form of thine which charms the eye and the mind be ever abandoned by thee. As this form of thine is enchanting, auspicious for the world, and is full of divine bliss, let everyone always have thy darshpan. Instead of thy former appearance of matted hair, wearing the serpent round the neck, holding the skull of Brahma, smearing ash from the Rudrabhumi, cremation ground, pray, assume. 79. The form of the Maba Parasba, the eternal bridegroom, adorning divine garlands, perfumes, robes and gem-set ornaments. Great Lord, let Deva and Gandharva maidens adore thee, dancing and singing to the accompaniment of musical instruments. Let thy devotees also adore thee unceasingly. Let this vision of our united form Ardbanariswara be always, by thy grace, capable of inspiring intense devotion, of bestowing prosperity and of fulfilling all desires. The Lord of Arunachala listened to these words of the goddess and fulfilled her wishes. With great affection he said, an asura named Palaka once performed austerities, assuming the form of an animal for that purpose, and obtained a boon from me. Thereupon his body began to emit a fragrant smell. Due to this the celestial damsels were attracted to him. This enraged the devas, who then appealed to me. Thereupon I summoned the asura and ordered him to abandon his body. He bowed to me, adored me with devotion and said, Lord of the Devassal, I shall abandon this body according to thy command. This fragrant substance is fit to be adorned by thee alone. Thou must therefore graciously accept it as my offering. O Lord of the world! I shall now happily abandon this body of mine. Let this perfume be worn by thee and by the goddess. Let my descendants, i.e., civet cats, acquire this fragrance by virtue of my sacrifice. I granted him the boon. Palaka then entrusted his life to me and abandoned his body. I am now offering you this perfume. You may wear it. Adi Parvati then narrated the greatness of the Ekamra lingo, which was installed by her during her penance at Kanchipuram. Brahma continued. On hearing this, the Lord of Sunashala granted all the boons the goddess asked for. The Lord himself now appears as Sunashala, the red hill, which is adored by the world. It grants every boon. Shambhu himself, with Gauri, shines as Arunachala. Those who have darshban of it or meditate upon it, attain liberation. All kinds of wealth accrue to those who hear of the glory of Arunachala. Those who remember Arunachala will become pure in mind. They shall be absolved of their karmas. A mere darshban of Arunachala will grant the benefit of bathing in all the holy tirthas and performing all yajnas and yagas. He will obtain the grace of Sadasava. Among the various places on earth which are sacred to Shiva, it is only at this place that Sambhu fell in love with his own majestic and magnificent form. He lost the desire to dwell at Kailasa. He asked Parvati, all the Risbhas and Devas to come and perform penance, austerities and all rituals that are laid down in the scriptures. In Bharatavarsha, Dibharma is cherished because of the presence of Arunachala. Devotees whose sins have all been destroyed in the blaze of Arunachala live in bliss. Arunachala fulfills the wishes of those who adore him with circumambulation, prostration and perform austerities. A single darshban of Arunachala pleases him much more than austerities, offerings and yagnas performed at other Bidras. The Vedas and the epics in the form of hills surrounding Arunachala pay 81 their obeisance to him. Neither I nor Vishnu with all our skill can adequately describe the glory of Arunachala. Myself, Vishnu, and the Devas always worship it while remaining invisible. Disease, distress, mental worry and other miseries incidental to the dark age of Kali Yuga do not affect those who always adore Arunachala. The power of Arunachala nullifies the influence of planets. I have thus described to the best of my ability the glory of Arunachala, which bestows liberation in a trice on one who contemplates upon him. Sudha said. When sage Sanaka heard with rapt attention the glorious and nectar-sweet story of Arunagiri that flowed from the lips of Brahma, he was full of bliss. End of part 1.
Part 2.
This part is taken from a portion of Skanda Purana where Nandi, the mount of Lord Shiva, narrates the glory of Arunachala to the immortal Rishi Markandeya. This version is slightly different from that given in part 1. Readers may find certain details repetitive, nevertheless, it must be borne in mind that it serves to emphasize the greatness of Arunachala. This is exactly the aim of this work. I glory of places and TLRTHA as sacred to Shiva. Asa said. The ascetics, munis, who lived in the Namisa forest asked Bhagavan Sudha, of all places sacred to Shiva which is the greatest? Kindly enlighten us. Sudha said, O ascetics! I shall tell you what sage Markandeya formerly learned from Nandikesvara. Listen. Markandeya said to Nandikesvara, Nandikesvara, I listened with devotion and faith to the story of Madhyamasvara narrated by you. I request you to continue. There is nothing unknown to you in the three worlds. Nandikesvara said, O best of ascetics! There is one place which corresponds to your description and which is the best of all sacred places and exists for the welfare of all beings, movable and immovable. It is ordained by Isvara that all jivas should be born according to their karmas. What you desire to know should prove beneficial to these 86 jivas. Otherwise they will not obtain liberation from samsara even after the lapse of a crore of eons, kalpas. Unfructified karma binds them to the vicious cycle of birth and death. There is no escape from it. Is there any means other than absolute knowledge to escape from this cycle? I have already described the places which are sacred to Shiva, the benefits derived by residing at those places and the names of the Riskas who live there. Some live on the banks of the Ganga, the Saraswati, the Yamuna, the Sona, the Narmada, the Godavari, the Gomati, the Himavati, name of the Ganga before it reaches the plains, the Krishna, the Tungabhadra, the Upavini, the Penai, the Kaveri, the Vaigai, the Tamarparni, the Mandakini, the Sipra, the river at Avanti, the Sarayu, the Marala, the Airavati, the Yadukankshi, the Kanyakumari, the Tamasa, the Varuna, the Vipasa, the Sadadruti, the Charmani, the Bimarati, the Bindusaras, the Pampa, the Bhairavi, the Kausiki, the Maliri, the Gandavati, the Manasa, the Akoda, the Indradyumna, the Manikarnika, the Varada, the Patala Ganga, the Saravati, the Lohati. Some live on the banks of the Ganga, the Saraswati, the Yamuna, the Sona, the Narmada, the Godavari, the Gomati, the Hemavati, name of the Ganga before it reaches the plains, the Krishna, the Tungabhadra, the Upaveni, the Penai, the Kaveri, the Vaigai, the Tamraparni, the Mandakini, the Sipra, the river at Avanti, the Sarayu, the Murala, the Aravati, the Yadukamshi, the Kanyakumari, the Tamasa, the Varuna, the Vipasa, the Sadadruti, the Charmani, the Bhimarati, the Bindusaras, the Pampa, the Bhairavi, the Kausiki, the Maliri, the Gandavati, the Manasa, the Akhoda, the Indradyumna, the Manikarnika, the Varada, the Patala Ganga, the Saravati, the Lohati, the Kalama, the Vitasta, the Chandrabhaga, the Surla, the Pyoshni, the Madhumati and the Pinakini Kasi, Panchakrosa, Abhimukti. The Himavati, name of the Ganga before it reaches the plains, the Krishna, the Tungabhadra, the Upavini, the Penai, the Kaveri, the Vaigai, the Tamraparni, the Mandakini, the Sipra, the river at Avanti, the Sarayu, the Murala, the Aravati, the Yadukamshi, the Kanyakumari, the Tamasa, the Varuna, the Vipasa, the Sadadruti, the Charmani, the Bhimarati, the Bindusaras, the Pampa, the Bhairavi, the Kausiki, the Maliri, the Gandavati, the Manasa, the Akhoda, the Indradyumna, the Manikarnika, the Varada, the Patala Ganga, the Saravati, the Lohati, the Kalama, the Vitasta, the Chandrabhaga, the Sarala, the Pyoshni, the Madhumati and the Pinakini Kasi, Panchakrosa, Avamukti. Others live on the seashore, or on islands, or in the sacrificial halls erected on the banks of the Sindhu, or at the places where rivers enter the sea. Varanasi, where Isvara is worshipped along with goddess Visalakshi, and Kapalamochana, the place sacred to Kalabhairava, are particularly sacred. Those who die at Sri Kasi become Rudras. Gaya and Prayaga are stated to 87 be places where one attains everything spiritual. Offering rice to the manes of one's ancestors, Pitris, at these places releases them from suffering. Badarakasrama, where Triambaka accompanied by the goddess was worshipped by Nara and Narayana, confers merit on worshippers. Maheswara carrying the bow named Saranga and accompanied by the goddess is worshipped by the rishis at Naimisaranya. Amarnath is also very sacred. Isa abides at Omkar in the company of goddess Kandi. I have already told you about the famous place known as Pushkara. Rajagandhi Deva abides there in the company of goddess Purahuda. Similarly, Astetiza and Radicha are installed at Ashadi. Mundi Deva and goddess Dandika Devi at Dandamundi, Lakulisa and the most auspicious goddess named Ananga at Lakula, Paresa and goddess Bhuti at Parabhuti, Suksmesa and Sukmasvari at Aralisvara, Sankara and Mangala at Gaya, Stanu and Stanupriya at Kurukshetra, Ugra and goddess Ugra Devi at Kanakal, Swayambhu Shiva and goddess Swayambhuvi at Talaka. I have already described Atahasa, where Surya worshipped Shiva and attained the supreme goal of his life, Kritavasa, which is superior to Kailasa, Sarisila, where Sri Mallikarjuna and Brahmaramba are worshipped by Brahma, Kalahasti, the abode of Sankara and Jananaprasunambika, worshipped by Vyasa and Kanchipura, sacred to Ekamarasvara and Kamakshi. Nataraja is worshipped by Patanjali at Chidambaram. The broken tusk of Airavata, Indra's elephant, grew again when it worshipped Shiva at 88 Tiruvenkadu. Sri Rama installed Ramalinga at Ramaswaram. Shiva is being worshipped at Jambukeshwaram for the welfare of the whole world. Isvara is always present at Iridachala on the bank of the Manamukta. At Madhyarjuna, Shiva, who is accompanied by Gauri, grants all boons. Those who die at Samanatha are not born again. At Sadavada, the effulgent Jyotir Linga is worshipped by Siddhibhas. Hari worshipped Valanikesvara at Kamalalaya and obtained Lakshmi for his consort. Brahma and Vishnu worship Shiva at Tirukajukundram for attaining liberation. The Lord of Parvati abides at Thonipuri in a boat during the great deluge which comes at the end of Kali Yuga. In olden days, Indrajit installed Shiva in the temple at Brahmapuram on the bank of Aryapushkarani. At Srikota, the temple of wisdom, people worship Chandramalasvara to expiate their sins. Parasurama worshipped Shiva at Gokarna. If one worships Shiva at Triparantaka, one need not fear Naraka, hell. Devotees who worship him at Kalanjana become sinless and are released from samsara. At Prabhasa, he bestows upon devotees everlasting benefits. Daksha worshipped Isvara at Vidaranya with the object of expiating the sin committed by him and attained liberation. Those who worship Isa at Himakuta need not fear rebirth. At Venuvana, Ambika manifested herself as a pearl inside a bamboo. It is a place where one's sins are expiated. At Javalamukhi, the goddess worshipped Kalarudra. Ganapati worshipped Shiva at Patravada. At Nyagradaranya, Kala and Shiva vied with each other in dancing. In Janaya, 89 worshipped Mrityunjaya at Gandamadana. Panini became a great grammarian by worshipping Sambhu at Goparvada and obtained his grace. At Virakashta, Yalmiki became a great poet by the grace of Shiva. At Mahatirtha, Shiva taught the Vedas to Brahma, Vishnu and others. Indra obtained his Vajrayudha, thunderbolt, at Mayawaram. At Madurai on the banks of the Vaigai, Shiva manifested as Sundarasvara. At Kumbhakonam, Goddess Ganga manifests herself in the month of Masi by Siva's grace and removes all sins. Skanda obtained at Triambaka the spear called Sakti with which he killed Taraka. Trisanku, who was born in a low caste, worshipped Shiva at Sripatala to purify himself. Sambhu punished Yama, the god of death, at Kadambapuri to save you. Shiva bestowed his grace upon Patikantha at Avinashi. At Raktakana, he granted to Mitra and Varuna the boon by which they were saved from rebirth. Vairachana Mahabali worships Shiva at Hitakaswara while living in Patala, the nether world. Kailasa is another place sacred to Shiva. Kubera worships him there. 92. The sacred Arunahala, having narrated the glory of various places sacred to Shiva, Nandikesvara asked Markandeya, "You have now listened to all that I have said. What more do you wish to hear?" On hearing this, Markandeya the ascetic placed his head upon Nandikesvara's feet with devotion and prayed as follows: Bhagavan, please do not evade my question. Your grace is the proof of my single-minded devotion to you. Each of the places mentioned by you so far has, no doubt, its particular efficacy, but which is the place that has the combined efficacy of all the sacred places? Please say which is that place, by remembering which knowingly or unknowingly even once, all beings moving as well as stationary attain liberation. It is described in all the Vedas and Puranas and elsewhere, that this earth is the place most suitable for 91 those who wish to reach Swarga and attain liberation. All karmas are efficacious only for those who live on this earth. You have explained that their results are of three kinds, viz. 1. Worldly pleasures, 2. Pleasures of Swarga, and 3. Liberation, Kaivalya. The first two will come to an end as soon as the merit acquired by a person is exhausted, but the third does not depend upon performance of karmas. Therefore it will not come to an end. It has been stated by you that true knowledge is the only means of attaining it. However, absolute knowledge cannot be acquired by all embodied beings. Which is that place where true knowledge can be acquired without book learning, merely by worship of Shiva? Please tell me which is that place where pure knowledge is attained by practicing but a few religious rituals, the place where even laymen without any kind of scholarship can evolve spiritually by merely smearing sacred ash, wearing Rudraksha beads and contemplating on Shiva? Which is that place where all residents overcome obstacles and attain knowledge without any conscious effort? At which place do even the wicked, the lowliest of animals and inanimate objects attain Godhead? This is not only my prayer but also that of all the Risbas present here, viz. Palaha, Palastia, Vasishta, Marichi, Agastya, Dadichi, Nagru, Brigu, Atri, Jabali, Jaimini, Damawa, Jamadagni, Upayaha, Yaha, Bharata, Arvaravada, Pipalada, Kanya, Kumuda, Upamanu, Kumadaksha, Kutsa, Vatsa, Varitantu, Vibandaka, Vyasa, Kanvarishi. 92 Kandal Mandavya, Matanga, Kukshi, Mandakarni, Chandal Kausaka, Sandalia, Sakatayana, Satatapa, Manuchanda, Garga, Salbhari, Romasa, Apastamba, Prithustamba, Bhargava, Udanga, Parvata, Bharadvaja, Dasya, Danta, Svetaketu, Kaundinya, Pundarika, Rabia, Trinabindu, Valmiki, Narada, Vani, Dhritamanu, Badhyana, Kapota, Harita, Murakandu, the extremely irritable Durvasa, Jalapada, Sakti, Gangavarya, Nadanda, Devadata, Nyangu, Susruta, Agnavzya, Galava, Matutva, Lakakshi, Visravas, Saindava, Sumantu, Sasupayana, Madgalya, Padya, Shiavanal Mathura, Rishyasringa, Ekapada, Krancha, Drita, Gomukha, Devala, Angiras, Vamadeva, Orva, Patanjali, Kapinjala, Sanatkamara, Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, Hiranyanava, Vadasana known as Satya, Sahota, Maitreya, Pushpajit, Satyatapa, Salishva, Sasira, Naidaga, Udatya, Samvarta, Salkayani, Parasara, Vaisampayana, Kausalya, Saradvata, Kapitavaja, Kusasvarchika, Kaivalya, Yajnavalkya, Asvalayana, Krishnadapadama, Anantakaruna, Amalakapriya, Sharaka, Pavitra, Kapila, Kanachi, Naranarayana and many. Which is that place where true knowledge can be acquired without book learning, merely by worship of Shiva? Please tell me which is that place where pure knowledge is attained by practicing but a few religious rituals, the place where even laymen without any kind of scholarship can evolve spiritually by merely smearing sacred ash, wearing Rudraksha beads and contemplating on Shiva? Which is that place where all residents overcome obstacles and attain knowledge without any conscious effort? At which place do even the wicked, the lowliest of animals and inanimate objects attain Godhead? This is not only my prayer but also that of all the Risbas present here, viz. Pulaha, Pulastya, Vasista, Marichi, Agastya, Dadichi, Nagru, Brigu, Atri, Jabali, Jamani, Damawa, Jamadagni, Upayaha, Yaja, Bharata, Arvaravada, Pipalada, Kanya, Kumuda, Upamanyu, Kumudaksha, Kutsa, Vatsa, Varitantu, Vibandaka, Vyasa, Kanvarishi. 92 Kandal Mandavya, Matanga, Kukshi, Mandakarni, Chandal Kausaka, Sandalia, Sakatayana, Satatapa, Manuchanda, Garga, Saubhari, Romasa, Apastamba, Prithustamba, Bhargava, Udanga, Parvata, Bharadvaja, Dasya, Danta, Svetakitu, Kaundinya, Pundarika, Rabia, Trinabindu, Valmiki, Narada, Vani, Dhritamanu, Badhyana, Kapota, Harita, Murakandu, the extremely irritable Durvasa, Jalapada, Sakti, Gangavarya, Nadanda, Devadata, Nyangu, Susruta, Agnavzya, Galava, Matutva, Lakakshi, Visravas, Saindava, Sumantu, Sasupayana, Madgalya, Padya, Shiavanal Mathura, Rishyasringa, Ekapada, Krancha, Drita, Gomukha, Devala, Angiras, Vamadeva, Orva, Patanjali, Kapinjala, Sanatkamara, Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, Hiranyanaba, Vadasana known as Satya, Sahota, Maitreya, Pushpajit, Satyatapa, Salishva, Sasira, Nidaga, Udatya, Samvarta, Salkayani, Parasara, Vaisampayana, Kausalya, Saradvata, Kapitavaja, Kusasvarchika, Kaivalya, Yajnavalkya, Asvalayana, Krishnadapadama, Anantakaruna, Amalakapriya, Sharaka, Pavitra, Kapila, Kanachi, Naranarayana and many. "92 Kandul Mandavya, Matanga, Kukshi, Mandakarni, Chandal Kasaka, Sandalia, Sakatayana, Satatapa, Manuchanda, Garga, Saubhari, Ramasa, Apastamba, Prithustamba, Bhargava, Udanga, Parvata, Bharadvaja, Dasya, Danta, Svetaketu." This is not only my prayer but also that of all the Risbas present here, viz. Palaha, Palastya, Vasishta, Marichi, Agastya, Dadichi, Nagru, Brigu, Atri, Jabali, Jamani, Damawa, Jamadagni, Upayaha, Yaha, Bharata, Arvaravada, Pipalada, Kanya, Kumuda, Upamanu, Kumadaksha, Kutsa, Vatsa, Varitantu, Vibandaka, Vyasa, Kanvarishi. 92 Kandul Mandavya, Matanga, Kukshi, Mandakarni, Chandal Kasaka, Sandalia, Sakatayana, Satatapa, Manuchanda, Garga, Saubhari, Ramasa, Apastamba, Prithustamba, Bhargava, Udanga, Parvata, Bharadvaja, Dasya, Danta, Svetaketu, Kaundinya, Pundarika, Ray. You have crossed the ocean of all the agamas. Moreover, you pervade all the worlds. Therefore kindly enlighten us. Whom else can we approach? All agamas and Puranas can be learned only from Paramasvara or Parvati or Skanda, or from you. Your kindness shows that you are aware of our devotion. Please kindly reveal to us the secret. Having said thus, Markandeya and the other ascetics prostrated before Nandikesvara and awaited his answers. 93 Eagerly. Nandikesvara looked at Markandeya, the best of devotees who had pleased Shiva by his devotion. Hearing the words of Markandeya, Nandikesvara nodded his head and said, "Yes, there is such a place on earth." The thought of Arunachala crossed his mind and he went into samadhi. With tear-filled eyes and his whole frame shaking with emotion, he said, "O best of ascetics! I was only testing you. If I do not divulge the secret to you, to whom shall I divulge it? Is there anyone like you in the world who follows the Dharma of Shiva? Is there anyone other than you who can gain everlasting life by the grace of Shiva? It is only for your sake that Shiva became angry and punished Yama, who came to claim your life. The entire Dharma of Shiva is already known to you. I shall tell you about that sacred place. Only devotees of Shiva are entitled to hear about that place. Now listen attentively. In the Dravida country, South India, there is this place, most sacred to Shiva, known as Arunachala. It extends to 3 yojanas all round. It is the heart of the earth. It is the favorite of Shiva. There he has assumed the form of a hill. He took the form of Arunachala for the welfare of the world. It is the abode of all the Siddhibhas, Mabharsbhas, Devas, Vidyadharas, Yaksba, G and Bharvas, and Asparas. It is regarded superior to the Meru, the Kailasa and the Mandara mountains by all. Since all creatures living there attain liberation effortlessly, even the residents of Svarga prefer to dwell there. The trees growing there have the good fortune of worshipping Hara in the form of this 94 noble hill with their leaves, flowers and fruits, and are therefore superior to the wish-fulfilling and other trees which grow in Svarga. Even hunters who are violent gain the imperishable merit derived from circumambulating the hill when they go round this hill while hunting. The rainwater falling from the clouds on its top is superior to the Ganga which flows from the Himalayas. Even the birds which sing there, and the reeds and bamboos which rub noisily against one another enjoy a status which yakshas, and barvas and kanaras cannot attain. The fireflies which give some light to those who walk there in darkness reach the abode of Shiva. As the trees growing on the slopes of this hill have the good fortune of union with the Lord unhindered, they scorn even the goddess, one of whose names is Aparna, leafless. The stars which pass over the top of this hill attain thereby the goal of their existence. They do not seek even Chandra, the moon. The wild animals roaming about the slopes of this hill do not care even for the deer within their reach. Suffice it to say that even children and the young ones of the animals are envied by Ganesa and Guha if they happen to touch the foot of this hill. The lions, tigers and elephants which live and die there are welcomed by the Lord of Sanadri and held in great esteem by him. This immovable hill is thus Sambhu himself. The trees, the groves and the herbs growing on it are his mad locks. Its bright, conspicuous peak and the two peaks on either side, which are like the sun and the moon, are symbolic of his three eyes. The blue streams of water, 95 flowing from the top of this hill during the rainy season, are symbolic of his blue throat. The one with 1,000 feet and 1,000 eyes is how the Lord is described in the Vedas. These are not mere words. Their truth can be directly perceived here in the form of this hill. For, innumerable are the streams that flow from the top of this hill which represents the head of the bearer of the Ganga. The white clouds which settle in a circle round the middle of the hill symbolize Shiva as mounted on the bull. The dark clouds that settle on the peak show him to be blue-throated. As this hill is immovable, Shiva came to be known as the immovable one, Stanu. Because of its imposing appearance he is described as the Great One, Bhima. As it is not possible to pass over this hill, Shiva is known as the Formidable One, Ugra. The tiny rivulets on its sides are Takshaka and Ananta belonging to the horde of serpents worn by him as ornaments. The 8 corners of this hill represent his 8 aspects, Abtamurti. In the distant past Parvati performed austerities here, pleased Shiva and won his left half. Isa was enshrined in the form of a linga by Gauri on the Pavalakunru, the coral hillock, an eastern spur of Arunachala. That linga is capable of bestowing worldly benefits as well as liberation. Durga, the slayer of Mahisha, abides there by the orders of goddess Gauri. She removes all obstacles and graciously enables devotees to have vision of their personal deities, and the person doing mantra japa attains the fruit of his japa, mantrasiddhi. In Gauri's ashram there is a tirtha known as Khadga Tirtha, the Tirtha made 96 by the sword of Gauri. The 5 great sins of those who bathe in it are destroyed. The lingo, known as Papanasana, destroyer of sins, which was worshipped by goddess Durga, destroys all sins. By committing forbidden acts in Arunachala, a Pandya king, Vajrangada lost his power. Afterwards he attained union with Shiva through devotion to the hill. 2 Vidyadharas named Kantisali and Kaladhara were cursed by Durvasa. They got rid of the curse by circumambulating this hill. There is no sacred place comparable to Sanadri, no mantra comparable to Panchakshara, no dharma comparable to the dharma of Mahesvara, no knowledge, jnana, comparable to the knowledge of Shiva, Savajnana, no protective amulet comparable to the Vedic incantation, the Rudram, no devotee of Shiva comparable to Vishnu, no righteous conduct comparable to devotion, no savior comparable to the Guru, no ornament comparable to the Rudraksha, no scripture, Sastra, comparable to the agamas of Shiva, no leaf comparable to the bilva leaf, no flower comparable to jasmine, no happiness comparable to dis. There is no sacred place comparable to Sanadri, no mantra comparable to Panchakshara, no dharma comparable to the dharma of Mahesvara, no knowledge, jnana, comparable to the knowledge of Shiva, Savajnana, no protective amulet comparable to the Vedic incantation, the Rudram, no devotee of Shiva comparable to Vishnu, no righteous conduct comparable to devotion, no savior comparable to the Guru, no ornament comparable to the Rudraksha, no scripture, Sastra, comparable to the agamas of Shiva, no leaf comparable to the bilva leaf, no flower comparable to jasmine, no happiness comparable to dispassion, no supreme state comparable to liberation. Rabel to Panchakshara, no dharma comparable to the dharma of Mahesvara, no knowledge, jnana, comparable to the knowledge of Shiva, Savajnana, no protective amulet comparable to the Vedic incantation, the Rudram, no devotee of Shiva comparable to Vishnu, no righteous conduct comparable to devotion, no savior comparable to the Guru, no ornament comparable to the Rudraksha, no scripture, Sastra, comparable to the agamas of Shiva, no leaf comparable to the bilva leaf, no flower comparable to jasmine, no happiness comparable to dispassion, no supreme state comparable to liberation. Neither Kailasa nor Meru nor Manhara is comparable to Arunachala. For the former are only the abodes of Shiva, whereas this hill is Shiva himself. On hearing these words of Nandikesvara, Markandeya bowed to him and prayed, "What are the karmas which lead human beings to samsara, and what karmas lead to hell? What are the acts by which sins can be expiated? Kindly explain." 97.3. Sins and their consequences. Nandikesvara continued. One who possesses the quality of sattva, purity and goodness, symbolized by white color, is rare in this world. Generally people possess the qualities of rajas, passion and activity, symbolized by red, and tamas, inertia and dullness, symbolized by black. One who possesses the sattvic quality alone attains liberation in due course, while others are ordained by Brahma the Creator to take birth repeatedly and consigned to hell for their evil deeds. There are various kinds of hells. They are as follows. One who kills a Brahmin suffers torments in Maharorava and other hells and takes birth afterwards as an ass, a dog, a pig or a chandala, outcast. The Brahmin who takes intoxicating drinks suffers torments for a time in the hell known as Rorava and is then born as an insect. 98 or worm or a bird. He who steals the property of a Brahmin becomes a Brahmarakshasa, demon, and in his next life suffers for want of the things that he stole. One who covets another man's wife is tortured in the forest of Asipadra, leaves made of swords, for a long time, and is reborn as a eunuch. He who covets his guru's wife is first tortured by Yama's minions who tie him to a red-hot iron pillar and suffers for a long time in the hell known as Kalasutra. The poisoner has to suffer in a terrible ayura, hell, the slanderer in the extremely terrible hell, Mahaghora, the hater of dharma in the hell known as Avisa, the deceiver in Kerala, the secret sinner in the hell called Sambara, the liar in a frightful hell, the stealer of money in Asashura, the malicious man in Vajranaraka, the Brahmin who eats meat in the hell called Tairala, the stealer of temple property in Dahana, the plunderer of others' property in Goragora, the traitor to parents in Tokshana, the murderer of a child in the hell Chanda, the murderer of a woman in Kulam, the despiser of mantra japa in Tapana, the slaughterer of a horse. The poisoner has to suffer in a terrible ayura, hell, the slanderer in the extremely terrible hell, Mahaghora, the hater of dharma in the hell known as Avisa, the deceiver in Kerala, the secret sinner in the hell called Sambara, the liar in a frightful hell, the stealer of money in Asashura, the malicious man in Vajranaraka, the Brahmin who eats meat in the hell called Tairala, the stealer of temple property in Dahana, the plunderer of others' property in Goragora, the traitor to parents in Tokshana, the murderer of a child in the hell Chanda, the murderer of a woman in Kulam, the despiser of mantra japa in Tapana, the slaughterer of a horse is suffocated to death, the slaughterer of the cows suffers in the hell called Druna. Hell, Mahaghora, the hater of dharma in the hell known as Avisa, the deceiver in Kerala, the secret sinner in the hell called Sambara, the liar in a frightful hell, the stealer of money in Asashura, the malicious man in Vajranaraka, the Brahmin who eats meat in the hell called Tairala, the stealer of temple property in Dahana, the plunderer of others' property in Goragora, the traitor to parents in Tokshana, the murderer of a child in the hell Chanda, the murderer of a woman in Kulam, the despiser of mantra japa in Tapana, the slaughterer of a horse is suffocated to death, the slaughterer of the cow suffers in the hell called Druna. In these hells sinners are bound with ropes by the minions of Yama, struck with cudgels and pierced with spears. They are pecked at by vultures and birds, bitten by serpents and attacked by dogs, tigers and lions. Their limbs are torn asunder, or cut to pieces, and their eyes are gouged with sharp weapons. They are whipped, pierced with needles, fried in oil and made to carry heavy loads. The murderer of a Brahmin is reborn as a consumptive, the drunkard as a person with 99 decayed teeth, the stealer of gold with decayed nails, the paramour of the guru's wife with skin diseases. The slanderer of the Vedas is born as a Chandala. One who bears false witness suffers in his next life from diseases of the eye. One who acquires learning by deceit is dumb in his next life. The stealer of books becomes blind. The lover of others' wives becomes lame. The slanderer of others becomes deaf. The violator of customary practices is reborn as a pig, the thief with diseased tongue. The inhospitable man suffers in his next birth from pain in his cheeks. He who dallies with women at forbidden times suffers from diabetes, and the eater of forbidden food from a foul-smelling mouth. He who shows disrespect to others is reborn as a slave. The destroyer of ponds and gardens is an ass. The person who does not abide by his promise has a short span of life. The speaker of harsh words is born as a dog. The hater of Vishnu as a chameleon, and the hater of Shiva as a rat. One should realize the consequences of sinful acts and then perform rites for expiation in the temple of Arunachala. After learning from Nandikesvara about the numerous kinds of tortures that await sinners, Markandeya worshipped the feet of Nandikesvara again and inquired about the expiatory rites for these sins. 100 rites to be performed in Arunachala for expiation of sins. Nandikesvara said to Markandeya, I shall describe fully the expiatory rites for sins. Listen carefully. The murderer of a Brahmin should come to Sanadri, bathe in the Khadgatirtha, smear sacred ash and wear Rudraksha, repeat the Panchakshara, worship Paramasvara with devotion and fasting, beg his food for a period of 1 year, feed Brahmins and control his senses. If he does so, the sin of murdering a Brahmin will be expiated and he will attain the world of Brahma. He who has taken an intoxicating drink should spend 1 year at Arunachala in the manner prescribed above, worship Mahesvara and pour milk over the linga while chanting Seda Rudram. He will then be absolved of his sin. If the stealer of gold, worships Hara at Arunachala with bilva leaves and feeds Brahmins, he will be free of his sin. The paramour of the Guru's wife should live at Arunachala in like manner, and in addition should light 1,000 lamps on the ascension of the Kritika star, worship Isa for 3 months, conduct marriage of a learned and poor Brahmin and repeat the Panchakshara 100 times. He will then be rid of his sin. He will also abide in the world of Shiva until he attains liberation. The lover of other men's wives should stay at Arunachala with his senses under control, worship the Lord of Arunachala with flowers for a month. He will then be free of his sin. If the poisoner and the slanderer stay at Aruna, leading an austere life as stated above, and offer milk to the Lord 101 and teach the Vedas, they will be freed of their sins. The incendiary should dwell at Arunachala for 3 months, leading an austere life, build a house and give it free to a devotee of Shiva. The despiser of Dharma should abide here, build wayside inns for pilgrims according to his ability and make arrangements to feed the pilgrims. One who has betrayed his parents should live here for 1 month and make gifts of thousands of cows to the Lord and Brahmins and feed many a Brahmin during the solar and lunar eclipses. The murderer of a woman or a child should make gifts of ginjali seeds to Brahmins and chant hymns to Isvara in the prescribed manner. Let him who has polluted wells and tanks dig wells and tanks at this place. Let him who has misappropriated the lands of others endow lands to the Lord of Arunadri at this place. Let him who has destroyed gardens create parks for him. Let him who has deprived another of his house construct mantabas for the Lord. He who has wronged another should offer money to the Lord of Arunachala and propitiate him. His sin will then be expiated. He will definitely attain the higher worlds. He who has taken meat should stay here for 3 fortnights and worship the Lord of Arunachala with offerings and repeat his name. Seekers after liberation should stay at Aruna, worship the Lord, repeat the Aranesa mantra and circumambulate the hill. Men of wisdom utter the name of Arunachala whenever they happen to rejoice or experience a nightmare, sneeze, stumble, fall down or commit an error. 102 He who has been ostracized, and he who is a traitor to Shiva becomes sinless by merely staying at Arunachala for 3 days. This is the world of Shiva on earth. It is the form adopted by the Lord praised as Vedasiras, i.e., the crest of the Vedas. One attains the goal of life at other places through austerities, but here one attains it the moment one thinks of Arunachala. Understand that religious acts performed here have greater efficacy than those performed on the banks of the Ganga, at Prayaga, at Kasi, at Sethu, at Pushkaram or at any other sacred place. Therefore Agnistoma, Vijayapaya, Viraha, Sarvadamukta, Rajasuya, Asvamedha and Soma, names of various kinds of yagas, should all be performed at Arunachala. Fasting for a day at Arunachala is more beneficial than observing 100 CB and Rayanas, regulated and restricted intake of food, or Santapanas, living upon the 5 products of the cow 1 for 5 days, taking only 1 product a day, taking water alone on the 6th and fasting completely on the 7th day, elsewhere. The great gifts 0 Mabadanas, made here are 16 times as efficacious as offered at other places. Religious acts prescribed in the kalpas which are performed here are twice as efficacious. On learning these details from Nandikesvara, Markandeya prostrated and asked him about the articles to be offered to Arunachalaswara on particular days, particular seasons etc. 1. The 5 products of the cow are milk, curds, ghee, its urine and dung. These are considered sacred in the Hindu religion. 103 IV. Offerings to Arunachala, Tandikesvara said to Markandeya. If one carat worships the Lord of Aruna with red flowers on Sunday, he will prosper and gain sovereignty. He who worships with the Kasturi Pakbe leaves on Monday will attain Satyaloka. Worshipping of the Lord with white lotuses on Thursday results in the worshipper reaching Jaya and Analoka. If one worships Arunachala on Elride with CB Ampaka and jasmine flowers, one will reach Tapaloka, and he who worships with Jatimali on Saturday will never enter hell even if he be the greatest sinner on earth. If one offers to the Lord Payasa, rice pudding, on Prabhama, the first day of the waxing, waning moon, one will acquire wealth and grains and pulses in plenty. The offer of cooked rice and curds on Davidya, the 2nd day, will make one fortunate and gain eminence. If one offers 104 Vadai, round fried cake made of pulses, on Tridya, the 3rd day, one will be healthy and free from disease. If it is offered on Siva Chaturthi, the 4th day, one will obtain grains in plenty and his desires will be fulfilled. Ven Pongal, a preparation of rice with pulse, etc., offered on Pankbami, the 5th day, results in continued prosperity. If one offers Sarkari Pongal, a preparation of rice cooked with jaggery, etc., on Sabti, the 6th day, he is rewarded with the birth of sons. If one offers Elanam, cooked rice flavored with sesame, on Saptami, the 7th day, one will be freed from debts. The offer of Rajasali C. Benal Anna, rice of a superior variety, on Abtami, the 8th day, bestows power to influence even kings. The offer of a wheat dish on Navami, the 9th day, makes one free from consumption. Kadambam, rice cooked with a variety of vegetables, offered on Dasami, the 10th day, leads to eternal happiness. Aval, beaten rice, offered on Ekadasa, the 11th day, makes one free from fear. If cooked rice and pulses are offered on Dwadasa, the 12th day, one's desires get fulfilled. Sadamagu, wheat flour mixed with jaggery, offered on Trayodasa, the 13th day, makes one free from sorrow and gives peace of mind. By offering various kinds of fruits on Sibatardasa, the 14th day, even a man of dull intellect becomes wise. The offer of jackfruit on Purnami, the full moon day, heals eye diseases. The offer of edible roots and tubers on Amavasya, the new moon day, satisfies one's manes, Petris. Clothes should be offered to Lord Arunachala with devotion on the ascension of the star Asvini, ornaments on
105 Bharani. Lighted lamps on Kritika, silver on Robini, sandal paste on Marigasirsba, WZC bandana, a special kind of sandal paste, on Arudienar, civet on Punarvasu, scented camphor on Pusbia, saffron on Asalsba, water of the Ganga on Makba, betel leaves and arecanuts on Purva Pibalguna, incense on Uttara Pibalguna, agaru Agalosibium on Haspa, scented sandal paste on Sivitra, fragrant Vrinda flowers on Svadivi, fly whisks on Visakba, a white umbrella on Anuradha, cows on Jaishta, strings of pearls on Mula, a crown on Pravasbada, jewels on Uttarasbada, a pedestal on Sravana, gold on Sravasvidya, clothes on Satabaspak, various objects of luxury on Purva Bibhadrapada, horses on Uttara Bibhadrapada, a golden chariot on Ravati.
These should be offered after first worshipping the Lord of Arunachala in an elaborate manner. On the days on which the sun enters Aries and the other signs of the